Hey, it's Anna. Welcome back to my channel. My worst bookish habit is that I do not do reviews like right away in a typing format. No type of writing. I can talk all day about books, but that doesn't count for Goodreads reviews. And I'm trying to be a better reviewer. So we're gonna see how many books I have to review and then look at my reviewing process and actually review these books. I think I haven't reviewed a book since the end of September, and it's currently November 19th. How fun for me. And I've read quite a few books since that time frame. So what I do is I type a review on Goodreads and then I copy and paste it over to Storygraph because I use both. And if there is an ARC or an advanced reader copy on NetGalley, then I type my review there. It usually syncs to Goodreads and then I copy and paste it to Storygraph. So it's not like it's a long process or a hard one. I don't know why I haven't made it a habit yet. So let's see how long it actually takes me to get all these reviews done and how many I actually have to do. Okay, so it's still November 19th. I just wanted to change my sweatshirt because I was dressed up for something earlier, and when sitting down and writing reviews, I have to be super comfy, in my opinion. How I go into reviews, briefly, is that I think every book has 5-star potential. I go into every book thinking it's gonna be a 5-star read, and then I explain backwards kind of why it lost certain stars, whether it's a half star, a full star, 2 full stars, 3 full stars in some of these cases, and I try to work backwards from that. So I am obviously a very optimistic type of reader, going in thinking every book could be a 5-star book. So I feel like I generally rate books kind of high, and based off of my reading taste, obviously. So I try to say too that if you're not a similar reader to me, my reviews might not be as potentially useful, because if you really like a certain trope and I don't like a certain trope, well, I'm going to rate that book lower. So I do try to be, as open and honest as I possibly can. I have my handy dandy laptop here. Of course, let's see how many books I actually have to review. And I know how many books I actually have to review because I use a spreadsheet to track all my books. So I already have what the ratings are, but I don't fully remember all of the details. Luckily, all of my reviews are recorded, so I can go back and watch myself and see why I liked a certain trait of a book. Some of these books that are 5 stars specifically, I don't need to go back, I really remember them. So let's see how many books I actually have to review. All right, I have 23 books to review. It'll probably be 24 in this video because I only have like 30 minutes left of Caraval on my audiobook. So to make this a little easier on myself, I'm going to start with some of my most recent reads from November and then kind of work backwards to the ones that were further away. So some of the more recent ones that I'm hoping to get done will be my ARCs, because I read 3 ARCs in November, and then some of just my other recent reads, such as Fourth Wing, Ace of Spades, Belladonna. So I think I'm gonna do like review writing sprints because I still want to read and I don't just want to take all of my time up reviewing. The goal will be to finish all of my reviews before I get my wisdom teeth out, because then I feel like after I get my wisdom teeth out, ooh man, this is gonna, it's gonna be a little tough. And my readathon is actually coming up this weekend. Pretty sure I would have already posted my readathon, so the timeline's a little weird on the channel right now, but I don't know how I'm gonna react to my wisdom teeth, so I definitely wanna do this before that happens. So I'm gonna see how many reviews I can do in the next hour-ish until my husband gets home, and then we'll just go from there. We'll see how many we can do, but I do wanna prioritize these 23 reviews, and I'll be able to tell you a little bit about each book after the reviews are done. All right, my husband is about 10 minutes away, so I wanted to do this wrap up before he got home. I was able to get 5 reviews done, so now I only have 18 left to do. It feels really nice to be under the 20 number. I don't know why. I definitely need to like piece these out. So again, I've been working for about an hour, and I will post brief screenshots of my reviews. I'm talking about them, but if you want to read the full one without pausing, you can just find me on Goodreads. It's Anna G Writes and Reads, just like my YouTube profile. So the reviews that I did was all 3 ARCs that I've read this month. The first was The Last Drag. I don't know how to pronounce it, and I need to watch the author's pronunciation video again. I rated that a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It is the second in a series. The first book was The Last Storm. I really felt like her writing got better, but I am not the spiciest reader, and a big thing of why books lose stars for me is if there's too much spice, which again, that's why it only loses like a half star, because I don't think it's so detrimental to the book. But if there's too much spice, if it takes away from the plot, like it's just not going to be a book for me. The second arc that I rated was the plot twist. I gave this a 3 out of 5. Just cringy language. It was just cringy. It felt too modern, like it will be outdated. I just like could not get past the writing style. And usually I'm not a big writing style girly, but this one I was like, man, this is not something I would want to read again. It's not my style. However, as always, it could be somebody else's style out there. So I try to always put a positive spin at like the end of my reviews for that, but 3 out of 5 star for me. I don't typically rate anything below a 3 star if I liked it. If I dislike a book, it'll definitely be lower than 3 stars. So even if there's like a part of me that just feels meh about it, or I don't like or dislike it, typically that's closer to a 3 star. And then my last arc was Every Time You Go Away. This was a 4.5 out of 5 stars, but I read it on my Kindle and I swear I was like missing pages. I had to keep turning back. So bizarre. So that was the last arc. The next 2 were books that I just read. The first was Fourth Wing, 3.5 out of 5 stars for me. I just had problems with it. I am really interested in this Fourth Wing phenomenon because I'm curious to see what like other fantasy readers really feel about this, because I don't know. I really love fantasy worlds and everything like that. And I just felt like this book was partially repetitive. It started out with such a fresh world, and then I feel like it just took a tumble near the end. That's just me, of course. Obviously, I feel like Fourth Wing gets a lot of notoriety, but it just wasn't my favorite. And then lastly was Belladonna. This was a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I just feel like some plot points in the beginning of the book that should have been resolved. Even though it's a series, I feel like they should have been resolved in book 1. We're not. And I'm just kind of like, are we ever going to come back to those? Are we not? What's going to happen? So haven't reviewed a 5-star book yet. I do have a few 5 stars to review. Let me see how many exactly. I actually only have 2 5-star books to review. I have a lot of books that I really like. Again, I'm a big enjoyment reader for my own self, so I'm not like as critical, but I feel like I do put time into my reviews. And I feel like because I put time into them, my brain's like, you can't do them unless you sit down and have an hour to do one, even though I just did 5 within an hour. So hopefully we'll be able to review the rest of the books. All of the books I just reviewed, I also read in November. I did have to watch my own review videos for like 2 of them. And so it's going to be really interesting as I keep going back and back how long I'm going to have to watch the review video that I posted on my other social media platforms for these books. I don't know if I'm going to do more reviews tonight, if it's going to come tomorrow, but again, the goal is to finish my 18 reviews before I have wisdom tooth surgery on the 27th, which gives me 8 days to do it. I can do it. I just have to sit down and actually review the books. So if you have tips for sitting down and reviewing books, let me know. I felt like this would be something intuitive, but I'm definitely better at talking out reviews than like actually typing them. So again, don't know when my next update will be, but hopefully I'll see you soon. All right, good evening. Oh, what do I even say? The goal for this video was to try to get as many reviews done before wisdom teeth surgery. I'm a little puffy. I've had the surgery. I did not get as many reviews done leading up to surgery week as I thought. Oops. Surgery was a lot. I think it was fairly intense towards some people's, like when you compare wisdom teeth surgeries. I was under anesthesia for about an hour and a half, and then we had an hour drive home. It was a lot. So this is the technically 3rd, 4th day of my recovery because I had it midday, and I was finally able to today do some more book reviews. I am still, I said at the beginning of the video, I was probably gonna have some reviews added, and that's true. Before I started doing reviews, I read and finished up more books. So let's see everything that I've been able to do during the week for my wisdom teeth surgery and what I still have left to accomplish. I reviewed Threads That Bind. This was a 4 out of 5 stars. Very mythical based world. There are more sibling relationships, heavier on Greek mythology in this one, I believe. So I overall really enjoyed it. It just lost a star because of the world building. I feel like first books in fantasy series are so hard for me to give 5 stars to because of how much the world building to me drags it down. Delicious Monsters, this was a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It's a dual perspective YA thriller, but it's not an evenly split dual perspective, and I wish it was a little bit more evenly split. So that was the reason for the loss of the half star. Yours Truly was also 4.5 out of 5 stars. This has one of the best male main characters, I think, of any romance books that I've read, but there's a trope in here that I don't like, could have done without. So that's where it's getting these ratings. My actual reviews are a lot longer than this, but even just talking for this short amount of time is starting to hurt. So I'm definitely gonna have to figure out what to do there. I have some like physical therapy things I can do for my mouth, so I should probably do those. The Neighbor Favor, 5 out of 5 star romance for me. I thought it was absolute perfection. Part of Your World, not a 5 out of 5 star romance. I really hate when like age gaps are so hounded on in adults, right? Because yes, you know what? 16 to 26, that is odd. But once everyone's been an adult adult for like 5-7 years-ish. I feel like the age gaps should not be as big of a deal. This book hounded on that. There was some other, I think like the rich versus poor trope, not a trope for me. So there were just a lot of tropes in that book that I didn't really like, even though Part of Your World was also written by yours truly. So it's interesting to see how authors progress over time. Icebreaker, 3 out of 5 stars. I don't really like this whole enemies to lovers in like a real life situation. I prefer that in a fantasy setting. It's just, it was a weird reason for them to be enemies. And then I feel like for me, if it's a contemporary romance, before getting into spicier scenes, I feel like I want a little bit more of an emotional connection. If I'm going into a dark romance, I have different expectations. But if I'm going into a contemporary book, right, that's just something that I personally prefer. So that's why it's a 3 out of 5 for me. Last Wishes Perish. That was a little hard to say. 2 out of 5 stars. Not for me. I feel like I saw every twist coming. All the characters were insufferable. Honestly, the side characters, like all the main characters were insufferable. The side characters are what I gave like that 1 extra star to, because they kind of saved the book for me, and some of them made like a lot of sense. Kind of wish they were more prominent in the books, but can't change it. Take a Hint, Danny Brown, 5 out of 5 stars. Now, I love fake dating, so that's why this book is a 5 out of 5 stars. If you don't like fake dating, probably not going to be the book for you. Yellowface, 4 out of 5 stars. I just thought this was a little bit slower paced for me, and there was an open ending, and I really like standalones that all come together and wrap up with a little bow. So still a very good book, and if there is a sequel or we go back to this world, I would easily up my rating to 4.5. The Hanging City, also a 4 for very similar reasons. Even though Yellowface is more fiction and The Hanging City is fantasy, The Hanging City also had an extremely slow start. The first 20 pages were so hard to get through, and then it's also very open-ended. Like, I refuse to believe there's not going to be a sequel. Even if this is just a duology, I don't need it to be a whole series. I just feel like there's enough for another book. Ace of the Spades, 3 out of 5 stars. This one was tough because I was so excited about it, but the audiobook narrator for the male character, because there's a male and female character, the male narrator sucked. He took a breath every 5 seconds, which is, I know what I'm kind of doing right now, but again, I just had wisdom tooth surgery. I don't think the audiobook narrator did, so that made it so hard to read. And then it was just kind of like slow paced overall. I could definitely see this being like a phenomenal movie or TV show. It was related to Get Out meets Gossip Girl. I think that was a very accurate description, but both of those are TV shows, not books, and I don't think it translated as well into a print format. I would love to see it on a screen. Okay, and those are all the ones I've done. I still have quite a few books to review. So I have 7 books left from October to review. It is November 30th today. And then I have 8 books from November to review. Honestly, I'm just gonna make it 9 because I'm less than 2 hours away from finishing an audiobook. And so I'm just gonna finish up that audiobook and then finish typing reviews after I finish that audiobook. So then hopefully I can start December 1st with like a very nice clean slate. So this is your lesson. Don't leave all of your reviews until the end. This has taken me quite a bit of time, and I am really good at making video reviews pretty shortly after I do my written reviews. And so I did have to go back for Icebreaker and for Part of Your World. Those 2 I had to go back, and those were more middle of the road books for me, which makes sense, but I had to go back and see like what did I even say about them? Why did I give them this rating? Which I think makes sense for me for middle of the road books. Books I give a 3 are kind of just like, I can forget about them. Anything less than a 3, I feel like I vehemently dislike something in the book, so I remember it a lot easier. Anything above a 3, I'm like, it had qualities that I remember. So I feel like that goes pretty much with my own personal rating system. So the goal is I am not working tomorrow. I've been taking naps like every single day. This is the most talking I've done, and my mouth is already so sore. Is hopefully I'm going to finish I just counted these, all 16 reviews tomorrow. That's the goal. I feel like that would take me 2 hours, if not longer, to do. The good thing is, because a lot of these are from November, I remember them a bit better. And honestly, we had quite a few standouts in November that I am quite interested to talk about, including my first ever 1-star book, which I was like, whoa. I was not expecting to give a book a 1 star. I'm such a big enjoyment reader, but I'm not a DNFer, and I was curious if I would ever get to like a 1-star book, and I think we finally found it. Not that I was like hunting for it, but now I kind of have a standard, and I'd never really had a standard for what a 1-star book looked like before. So hopefully I'll talk about that with you tomorrow on December 1st. I am so tired from talking, so I'm gonna take a break, and then hopefully we'll do better tomorrow. All right, it is December 2nd. It's very weird with this wisdom teeth recovery because I filmed the clip like right before this 2 days ago, and even today I I feel like worlds different. So happy about that. I am trying so hard to get all of this done in terms of reviews, because now this video is supposed to be going up December 5th. And so now I want to get all my reviews done before December 5th. That's my goal. I was able to get all of my October reviews done. So let's briefly go over those. So I read the entire Naturals series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, which is 4 books and a novella. The Naturals, the first book, honestly for me is tied with the third book for my favorite. Both of those books, the first and the third, which is the Naturals and All In, I gave 4.5s out of 5 stars. With the first book, the Naturals, there is just plot twists that I don't like, where they kind of just like come really out of nowhere or out of a throwaway line. It's just not my favorite. I definitely like more clues that seem clever, so it wasn't my favorite plot twist. The second book, Killer Instincts, there were even more of those plot twists, and so I was like, I didn't like this as much as the first one. And then the third book, because in the Naturals you follow like a group of teens, it's like YA Criminal Minds, and the one teen that you focus on in book 3, All In, is one of my favorite characters, so I was super invested in her backstory and figuring out more about her, so I think that helped the rating. But again, those plot twists, I just can't get behind them. I think that's just one thing with Jennifer Lynn Barnes' writing style, is just I don't even try to predict anything because I know it's going to be something that's pretty much like pulled out of thin air. And then we get to Bad Blood, the 4th book, and honestly, this one for me was a 4 out of 5 stars, but it was my least favorite of the 4 main books, because you have 4 books, right, that are building up to this big scene. The scene literally lasts like 3 pages, and I just wanted more. I wanted more of that final resolving scene, and so that's why it's a 4 out of 5 for me. So surprisingly not as big plot twist complaints in this one, but definitely something I wish was just longer. I could have taken that book easily being 50 pages longer. And then the novella, which for the first time in print, if you buy the new paperback versions of the Naturals, you get the novella in print, and that book I gave a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I just felt like it was a tease. I felt like it wasn't enough. I did think the mystery in that book was clever, but I just wish we almost had like a full-length book at that point. If Jennifer Lynn Barnes already has all these ideas, I just wish it was fully executed, not just giving us these little tastes, because now even more I want to know, I feel like she left open even more doors to further this series, and like, is it gonna happen? I don't know. So I could change my rating if more books do come out, but it just wasn't for me. And then my last 2 books for October were from the Maybird trilogy. So this is a middle grade series that I loved as a kid, and I wanted to do a reread. I don't usually reread books, and so this was like my first reread for this year. And the first book, The Ever After, which I grew up knowing it as Maybird The Ever After, so there was like a title change, I think a publisher change in like 2014. And so The Ever After, I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. The world building in a middle grade book you think I'd be able to understand. There were just some concepts that were confusing. I had to go back and read, so not necessarily the easiest world building, which again just surprised me, but I absolutely love the characters, love the story. I really like the trilogy. And then the second book, Among the Stars, which I knew as Maybird Among the Stars, got a 4 out of 5 because it was so much shorter than the first book, and usually when that happens I'm like, okay, could this have been a duology? Like, why is this getting a full-length book? And then it really felt like this second book just furthered along to a third book, and I don't really like that type of like progression in books. I really like each book in a trilogy to like stand on its own, have its own, personality, and it just didn't really feel like this one did that for me, but I still really enjoyed the story and the character, so I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. So the only thing I have left to do in the next 3 days is review 9 books, which I know will probably take me about 2 hours to review. And all of these 9 books, though, I read in November. I haven't finished a book in December yet. I don't know if I'm going to finish a book before December 5th because I started duology December and I have some longer books that I'm reading, and the audiobook that I'm listening to right now, I think I have like 7 hours left of it. So I don't know. The goal is hopefully all today on December 2nd, I will finish up all my reviews, be able to start December off really strong, and then keep up with my reviews until the end of the year, because I really don't want to spend New Year's like rushing to finish reviews. So hopefully this video will be a good lesson for me to just do my reviews when I finish the book. They don't take that long when I do them right away after finishing a book. but I'm just so anxious to get to the next book. I don't want anything to stop me. So I don't know. I'll try to think of a better system. But this video has had a ton of book reviews from September, October, and now November. So that is really interesting to see just how many books I've been able to read over the past few months. And hopefully, like I said, I get better at doing reviews. But I have 9 more to finish before I can even think about trying to better myself. But at least it's under 10. We're in the single digits, which I think is an accomplishment in and of itself. All right, I have gotten quite a few reviews done, but I decided to try to wean myself off of the Motrin I've been taking after the wisdom tooth surgery, and I feel like the Motrin has officially been out of my body for like 4.5 hours, and like an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago, I started feeling feverish again. I just started feeling really weak, so I don't have all of my reviews done, but I have a lot of them done. So first is Caraval. That was a November review. I gave that a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really liked it. It was just overwhelming in an audiobook format for me, and that just made it less enjoyable near the end of the book. The Locked Door by Frida McFadden, I also gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I would say that like the majority of the plot twist hit me for this one, but not all of them. And I feel like with Frida's books, like 2 of her books are 5 stars for me, where I feel like everything landed. And so that's why even though like only 1 or 2 plot twists didn't really land for me, I feel like I had to give it a 4.5 because it wasn't at the same level as The Housemaids or The Housemaid's Secrets. Then we had The Honeymoon Crashers. Listen, the very beginning premise and the very end where another couple inputs their opinion, not for me. Didn't like. Everything else I really liked, but I am also a fan of The Unhoneymooners. So if you're not a fan of The Unhoneymooners, not going to be a book for you. And then If He Had Been With Me, so I listened to this on audiobook. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I feel like I really related to it personally from my own high school experience, and that I think is part of the reason why I rated the book as highly as I did, because in reality it was a really slow book, but I did feel really connected to it. And then the very ending was such an emotional roller coaster. I feel like this could be a book where I go back and reread it when the next book comes out, because the next book in this series is supposed to be from the other main character's perspective, and it comes out in 2024. And I feel like if I do a tandem read of those, that could be really good. And so I might change my reading with that tandem read, but that's just what I'm saying. If you haven't picked it up, I would honestly wait till the other book comes out and read them at the same time. And then we're about to go through a lot of emotions together. My first 1-star book, my true first 1-star book of the year is Sweethearts. And to me, this book was written in 2008. I understand it was a different time. I still didn't like the use of the R word. I had 5 million questions that nobody was asking. Nobody really seemed engaged in this world. I didn't really care about the characters. I also think there were a lot of unhealthy habits put into this book that were not like addressed at all or like properly reflected on or anything. Very weird. I personally would not recommend that, and that's all I'm going to say. What I would recommend is my 5-star read from November, Kiss the Girl. I ate that book up. Now, that is a Disney book. It's from the Meant to Be series, which is Disney's like romance retelling series. So if you don't like Disney, this is probably not going to be a 5-star read for you. It's a romantic retelling of The Little Mermaid in like contemporary times. I loved it. I loved every single thing about it. So, but if you're not a Disney person, or if you don't like The Little Mermaid, I can already tell you right now, just like don't pick up the book. You know, books are made for different people. And then the last book that I rated was The Rosewood Hunt. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. The last hour and 15 minutes, it was just so long. It did not need to be that long. But then the other part of it, like the first 85% of it, I think, gave me major Inheritance Games vibes. I love the mystery. Such a stunning debut, in my opinion. So there's only 2 books I haven't reviewed. One is The Immortalist. I know that is our book club book for this month, and we meet for book club tomorrow, December 3rd. And so I don't want to like give too many of my thoughts away before talking with book club first, because I feel like that's just like kind of fun to do with a book club group. I am going to rate it 3 out of 5 stars. Like nothing's really going to sway my opinion on that. And then the second book is Hook, which is, I think, my first darker romance. I don't know if it's like full dark romance or anything like that, but I just don't know how I feel about it, especially because I'm currently listening to the second book, Scarred, and I can't help but like compare the two. It's almost like because I've never read a darker romance before, I don't have like a litmus for it. I don't have like a, oh, this is a 3-star dark romance for me. This is a 2-star. This is a 4-star. Like, I don't know. And so I feel like I need to like read a little bit more, but also I really want to finish all these reviews. So I started actually reading some other reviews, which I don't ever do. Like, I never read other people's reviews of books before I review them. And so I've been reading some and I'm like, wow, I really don't know which way I want to go. To me, this book isn't getting anything higher than a 3-star then, because I do feel meh about it. I just don't know if there are things that I disliked about it, I guess. Like if there were certain, because again, everyone has different opinions. So to me, there were definitely some terms that stuck out in the books where I was just like, what is going on? And I don't know if it's a dark romance thing or not, because to me, I haven't had any feelings like that with Scarred yet. And Scarred is a very different premise than Hook, even though they're in the same type of series. So I'm leaning towards at most a 3. And then because I'm going to wait and write my review of The Immortalist probably tomorrow night, if not on Monday, I might just wait and also try to get further into Scarred so then I can write my Hooked review, because so far in Scarred there hasn't been any like spicier scenes, whereas with Hook I feel like there was a spicier scene really early on, and so I feel like that's something that I definitely want to compare, I guess, especially because it's the same author, right? So overall I only have 2 reviews left to do. Pretty proud of that. Again, wasn't feeling the best, but I wanted to at least record this, so I apologize for the angle, and then hopefully tomorrow I will have all of my reviews done. The fact that we are below 5 just makes me very, very happy. 2 definitely seems way more manageable going forward. All of my reviews are officially complete, and I still have not finished a book into December yet, so I really have nothing left to review. I'm so happy. I finished my rating of The Immortalist. I still gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I actually talked so much about my problems with The Immortalist that my friend changed her rating from a 4 to a 3-star of the book. I didn't do it on purpose. It just, there were so many parts with The Immortalist where it was so character driven and I just wasn't as engaged, but there were some redeeming moments, so that's why I feel like I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. And then for Hook, the final book, I gave it a 2.5 out of 5 stars. I am listening to Scarred right now, so the other book in the series, and I'm liking Scarred a lot more than Hook, and so I feel like because Hook had some terms I didn't really like, and I felt like the characters were pretty inconsistent, whereas with Scarred, they're a lot more consistent. I feel like that's why I had to give it that rating. So excited. All the books are done. Hopefully you rated some books during this video, maybe, if you had a lot left to do, or if you have, again, any tips to help me review better, I would definitely take them, because I don't want to spend this much time doing reviews again. I should just spend 5 minutes after reading the book to do it. Maybe I'll change after this, maybe not. And then in my next video, we're gonna look at the Goodreads winners, which I don't know anything about yet, and get our reaction to them, see how many I got right, see how many I got wrong, see what maybe I need to put on my TBR for 2024.